Listen now for God's word. Then David slept with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David. The time that David reigned over Israel was 40 years. He reigned 7 years in Hebron and 33 years in Jerusalem. So Solomon sat on the throne of his father David, and his kingdom was firmly established. Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of his father David. Only he sacrificed and offered incense at the high places. The king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the principal high place. Solomon used to offer 1,000 burnt offerings on that altar. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask what I should give to you." And Solomon said, "You have shown great and steadfast love to your servant, my father David, because he walked before you in faithfulness, in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart toward you. And you have kept for him this great and steadfast love, and have given him a son to sit on his throne today. And now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David. Although I am only a little child, I do not know how to go out or come in. And your servant is in the midst of the people whom you have chosen, a great people, so numerous they cannot be counted. Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, able to discern between good and evil. For who can govern this, your great people?" It pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this. God said to him, "Because you have asked this, and have not asked for yourself long life or riches or the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right, I now do according to your word. Indeed, I give you a wise and discerning mind. No one like you has been before you, and no one like you shall arise after you. I give you also what you have not asked, both riches and honor all your life. No other king shall compare with you. If you will walk in my ways, keeping my statutes and my commandments, as your father David walked, then I will lengthen your life." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So what I want to know this morning is, when is God just going to sort of show up in one of my dreams and say, "Hey, I'm dropping by because I've been thinking, I just want to give you anything you want, anything, just literally anything you want, ask for it. Because, I've got my list ready. I'm ready, God, whenever you want to just give it a shot." That would be nice. Of course, I'm not going to hold my breath, and you probably shouldn't hold your breath either. So now that we've established that this whole notion of God basically being like a magic genie in a lamp is sort of absurd in itself, I think given that, what Solomon answers is kind of impressive. I think a lot of us have heard this story before, and we remember that this is where Solomon asks for wisdom. And I want to walk through it. It's a little more nuanced than that. This is really a beautiful prayer that Solomon offers to God, a beautiful dream prayer, if you will. It starts out with Solomon praising God and recalling how God has shown this amazing love to his father David and blessed both David and Solomon by making Solomon king, David's son, an heir. And then he says this sentence of humility, "I am only a little child." We think he was probably not a little child, more like 17, 18, or 19. So better stated, "I am young and inexperienced. And you've chosen me as king out of a multitude of so many people. So what I need is an understanding mind That's what he asks for. And a better translation is a listening heart, an open heart. Give me a listening heart so that I can do a good job governing your people. Help me know how to choose right from wrong, good from evil. He's saying that he wants to be a good king. I imagine Solomon feeling sort of overwhelmed by it all and intimidated about being the king of this huge nation. And he knows that people will keep lists, right, of good, sort of good, not so good. And he wants to be on the good list. And as I think about it more, I think Solomon felt a lot of pressure. I mean, look at verses 6 through 9. In it, Solomon is basically saying, God, you were with David. You made my father basically the greatest king in all of Israel's history and used him to make our people this great and massive, numerous group of people, this nation. And I am the one that has to live up to that. I have to follow in his footsteps. So just help me not let everybody down. And as we look forward to this new school year and other new beginnings, I think a lot of us can probably relate to that. Who is getting ready to attend the same school as an older sibling? Or who has attended the same school as an older sibling? I know, right? For better or for worse, a lot of your teachers, your coaches, and other staff, they're already going to know your name. Or if they don't know your name, you'll be so-and-so's brother or so-and-so's sister. That can be hard to live up to all of those expectations, right? I'm sure you probably get used to even being accidentally called your older sibling's name sometimes. You have to walk in that shadow. Now, I am an older sibling, and so I'm a little biased. I think in ways, maybe when you get to be a little bit older, the older sibling can have it even tougher. Who here went to or maybe is planning to go to the same college as one of your parents or entered the same career field as one of your parents? And maybe even if you didn't, maybe you felt some sort of pressure, whether it was spoken or unspoken, to do so. I'm a fourth generation Presbyterian pastor on my mom's side. And so when I said that I was going to seminary, my brother and all my cousins breathed a sigh of relief, right? It's a lot of pressure. I can also remember this pressure from, when I was younger. When I was in 9th grade, I remember talking to my mom and complaining that, my friends' parents would give them money when they got an A. Like you'd get, $10 for every A on their report card. And I said, Mom, show me the money, right? And she said, you don't get money for getting A's because as a member of this family, you are expected to get A's. And now I know why that's important, right? You have to get A's because you need a good job because all that therapy you're going to need later is not cheap. So we know this pressure. We know where Solomon came from. But the rest of his story is an interesting one. He's known for his wisdom and his wealth, also for constructing the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem. His reign is presented as this success story. It's the pinnacle of power and prosperity and peace for Israel. In some verses, you see, one could actually argue, though, that the most faithful and humble and wise thing that Solomon did during his career was this story, was to ask God for wisdom, because you keep reading in 1 Kings and you see that some of these beautiful, opulent construction projects were only possible because he conscribed forced labor and he levied enormous taxes. The other thing Solomon is known for is having lots of wives, lots of foreign wives, which is a no-no because they brought their foreign gods, their idols with them. And so in addition to the temple, Solomon also built sanctuaries to other gods. And God was not pleased with this. To punish Solomon for this unfaithfulness, God decides that Solomon's son, Rehoboam, won't be king over all tribes of Israel. And the 10 northern tribes rebel, and they break off and make their own kingdom ruled by King Jeroboam, while Solomon's son rules the 2 southern tribes. And that split defines the rest of Israel and Judah's history. They never come back together. So when you think about this story and the rest of Solomon's story, I think there is a tension between faithfulness to God and getting earthly success. On the one hand, we read in the passage just now that God gives Solomon the things that he didn't ask for, riches and fame and success, basically because he didn't ask for them and he asked for something more selfless in return. So he's rewarded for being faithful. On the other hand, though, when you step back and consider Israel's political and economic success throughout Solomon's reign and really read between the lines, you can't help but wonder if they would have done as well if Solomon didn't make those foreign alliances. They needed those alliances to have great trading partners, to have peace and prosperity. And the way that you make those alliances is by marrying foreign wives. If Solomon had been more faithful to God, there's no guarantee that they would have had as much material success. As we prepare to go back to school, I'm reminded of a program for first-year students at Trinity University, my alma mater, that I helped lead when I was a senior there. It's called The Plunge, and it's sponsored by the Christian fellowship groups on campus. It is open to all first-year students before they do their first-year orientation. Basically, you get to campus, you move all of your stuff into your dorm room, and then you take the city bus downtown with enough things for a week. And you spend a week staying downtown at San Antonio Mennonite Church and taking public transportation to different work sites, learning what it's like to take public transit, learning about efforts to promote justice and equality in San Antonio, working with low-income seniors on house projects, working at the Haven for Hope with people who are experiencing homelessness, and engaging in worship and reflection with peers who are in the same boat. This is a wonderful experience, and one of the most important things that it does is it grounds you in your first year in what matters to God. The t-shirt for the year that I worked on it, because every one of these things has to have a t-shirt, right? It has Minor Meyer's famous quote on the back. "Go into the world and do well, but more importantly, go into the world and do good. Yes, whether you are a first-year college student this year or in elementary school, we are under immense pressure to achieve success scholastically, socially. Maybe we're not expected to be world-famous, wealthy, powerful builders of kingdoms and institutions like Solomon. But it is his definition of success that permeates all of the cultural air that we breathe. And so, in this time of new beginnings, I hope in the busy days ahead, you will take moments to ground yourself in a different breath, wind, and spirit. I hope you will remember above all else that you are a beloved child of God, chosen and claimed to do good. And no A or F, no win or loss, no acceptance or rejection, no award or demerit can ever take that away from you. To know this deep in your bones is to have a well-rounded education. Praise be to God. Amen.